What? Okay, we're live. So today we're talking about closing. So David, over you.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Mila. My name is Dave Monteith. I'm a silver director with my wife, Guiying Shu, with USANA. And tonight, what we're going to be covering is the art or the science or the psychology of closing. So the closing is a really important part of your business, and it's a really important part of your presentation. So what we're going to start with is closing. It's really not that hard, but it's something that we all struggle with at some point in time in our business. So your business team and your customer base will grow exponentially. You become good at closing and closing the deal, and whether that's a product deal or an opportunity deal. And with USANA, we have both. We have the opportunity close on the business opportunity, and we can close on the product. So here are some of the reasons why most people don't close despite doing all the things right. One is, and I can tell you some of these come right out of, I didn't write this, but it's like, oh yeah, I know that one. So it's fear of rejection. No, you hate when somebody says no to you. The fear of failure. I did something wrong. The fear of being, of failing, feeling guilty, and I think when you really start to think about the why for some of these feelings, you'll have to go back and understand what's causing them, or simply you're just not asking for the order with commitment or confidence. So it's just, you're just asking for the order, and it's, a little less confident, and you're not expecting them to buy. So why be confident, or why expect it? So the first thing about closing and the secrets to becoming a better closer is to check in. Number one, check in with why you're doing what you're doing. So if you're feeling, and here's some of the things I'll think about. If you're feeling a little bit guilty, why are you feeling guilty? Maybe you don't feel as strongly about the product or the opportunity or the person that you're working with. Maybe you think you're taking advantage of it. If you feel that way, maybe you really need to revisit, the reason why you're doing USANA. We're here to help people with their health. And I've sort of recently come into the term of, I want to help people put gold in the golden years of their lives. Whether it's golden health or gold in their bank account or whatever it is. Um, so those are the things. So check in with why you're doing this. And if your why is sincere and your reasons are sincere for helping people, you'll get past the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the guilty feelings, or not asking with some confidence, or just asking sheepishly for, hey, you really think, what do you think? You want to give it a try? And that's not what we're after. It's like, hey, what do you like best about this? And how do you think, and when do you want to get started? There's just a bit different way of asking for that order. So when you're working with really good clients and customers and prospects, you're the one who knows what you have to offer. So you have the right and the responsibility to ask with some commitment. So check on your belief about your product or the opportunity. I think one of the other ways is, whenever you meet with people, assume that they're planning to join or to buy the opportunity. Don't go in there thinking, well, I'm just going to find this person. I'm going to give this presentation, give it a best shot. I don't expect them to buy. So if you go in with that kind of attitude, they're going to pick up on it at some point in time in your presentation, that you're not that committed to the product. You're not that committed to them. And one of the other things is practice asking the closing questions until you get more comfortable with them. So work with somebody, a spouse, a teammate, a friend, an enemy, just somebody, and just say, hey, I really need to practice this. I want to get good at this because I want to be a professional at how I present my business to other clients and customers. And here are some of the questions you can ask. So what questions can I answer for you to help you get started? What questions can I answer for you to help you get started? So are you ready to get, when you finish up, are you ready to get started? And don't, and again, ask it with some commitment. Are you ready to get started? So the next one is, if you were to get started today, which pack would you get? And which one would make you feel the most excited? So where do you want to start? Again, that's all the commitment. And sometimes people are going to ask us, well, where did you start out? So a few things to remember. Always remember that most people don't like to make decisions. So we have to help them make that decision. We have to guide them through the decision. So we don't ask them what they're thinking or what they like, some of the things that we like or not, but don't ask for a decision. Or no, if you don't ask for a decision, you'll likely be left chasing prospects endlessly. I know that feeling. I have a few people out there. It's like, yeah, I keep chasing them on Facebook, or I keep chasing them on a phone call or a text message or whatever. And it's still that art of follow up. Continue to follow up with people, but sooner or later, it's like, hey, when are you going to get started? So objections, and this is one of the reasons why that we sometimes struggle with our closes. We get a lot of objections. Now, objections are typically going to be automatic responses that people give to you when you ask them for that decision. So, and I bet you can kind of guess what some of those objections are going to be. First one, and probably the most common one, is, well, I really don't have the time, or I don't have the money. I think I have to ask my spouse or my partner or my best friend or whomever. I have to ask somebody. I have to get permission from somebody to do this. I just have to think about it. I have to do some research and think about it. And then, another one, and I've heard this one too. Oh, it's one of those pyramid things, isn't it? Isn't that one of those pyramid things? So we're all going to get those. And if you have presented this to anybody, whether it's one person or 50 people or 300 people, there's going to be the determination of how much success you have had too. If you're at 300, you've had much more success than if you gave up after 5. But handling the objections is inevitably what's going to help propel you to success in this. You will always get, or you will inevitably, I'm going to read this over again. You will inevitably get objections, and it's just a natural part of the process. You have to practice the objection handling scripts so that you'll be confident and they'll just roll off your tongue like a pro. You'll become like a sniper. When someone says, I don't have the money, you'll have something to come back at them. And there are several handling objection scripts for each of these objections that we can help walk you through. So the first objection that a prospect gives you is rarely the real reason why they won't do it. To get to the real detail, people have an automatic response to that objection, and they'll typically use these in any situation. So it's like, hey, you want to buy a new car? No, I don't have enough money. Hey, do you want to commit to being a coach for the Little League Baseball? No, I just really don't have enough time. So whatever it is, people are objecting no matter what you're asking them to do. And so this is not going to be any different than any other thing in life. And I just think so a lesson that sometimes we have to apply in other areas of life where we've done things and say, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. I ran a little a soccer club for like 7 years, and it's like, hey, would you mind being coach? I don't know anything about soccer. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I don't have the whatever, So it's all about the same thing. It's all about just getting them involved. Why do you want to be involved, and why can you help out with this? So the I have no money objection. We're going to go over that a little bit. So here are some questions that you can ask if someone says that I don't have enough money. You might ask, if I could put a dollar value on what it would be worth for you to have. So again, this is going to be part of the process. Whatever they told you that they wanted. So this is something where the prospect, you had a little time to talk to them, and the guy said, man, I just want to retire early. I need to make $3,000 a month doing something. I want to retire early, and it's really important to me. So when they give you the money objection, it's usually, I don't have money, means they haven't established enough value, and people will only move forward when they perceive enough value compared to the cost. So you might ask the question, if you could put a dollar value on what it would be worth to you to have the early retirement, the better health, the more energy to retire wealthy, what would that be? So if someone says, here's the dollar value to that, and compare that with the cost of getting started with your business. Another way to ask it, how many pounds would you have to lose to justify the cost? So if you're asking them to get involved in the reset program, and maybe the reset costs, I just did a package for $155. And I had one potential client say he wanted to lose 50 pounds. So what is that? $155, that's like $3 a pound. How much is that worth to you? What is it worth to you to feel better because you've lost that weight? If your doctor said, or if your whatever said, and I know this person very, very well. So, and I would like to see him healthier. So how many pounds would you have to justify the cost? What have you paid for diets that you've been on in the past? What kind of money back guarantees would you need to get them? If you did have the money, would you get started today? Here's a really simple, if you did have the money, would you get started today? And the answer of that one is yes. Then you're going to explore different ways to help them find that money to get started. And so I don't have the time objection. The time objection typically means one of two things. It's a smoke screen for something else. They just don't want to give you an honest answer. No, I don't want to do this. No, it's, any one of the other ones. No, I'm overcommitted. Or they really are overwhelmed with what's going on in their life. And so to handle this objection of the time, you have to get to the root of their problem. And you have to ask, and a good question to ask them is, if you did have the time, would you get started? So it's, now you're just looking at if, you're not saying it's all hypothetical. If you did have the time, would you get started? And if they say no, then time is not the real objection. So there's something deeper than time. And then you will have to dig that out and explore that a little bit further. If they say yes, then they're probably legitimately busy and they can't see how they can fit it in. At this point, you need to start asking more questions. Okay, are you okay with being busy for the rest of your life? When do you see that changing? Do you see the situation changing where you won't be busy for the rest of your life? So if you're doing something and you're, I know some people. I know one guy that back when I lived in Iowa, he worked 7 days a week. He worked up to 12 hours a day. He was getting up to that age, that magic age where we all look forward to our late 50s, early 60s, and planning to retire. One Saturday, he was my neighbor across the street. We saw the ambulance over across the street, and we lost our neighbor because he worked all his life and never had time to enjoy it. So time, do you want to be that busy for the rest of your life? At what age do you really want to be able to enjoy the golden years? So if they say yes, then busy is their problem. So you're trying to help. Now you want to help them see the value of investing a little piece, taking a little slice of that time and putting it into something that might free them up from their busy world. So the next objection you might get is, I have to ask my spouse or my partner. Now, this is a pretty common objection, and it's typically is a really good way to avoid deciding at the moment or making a decision. In some relationships, people don't make buying decisions over a certain dollar limit without consulting each other. And if that's the case, we need to respect that. We need to respect people who have an agreement with their partner that says, over $300, I don't make these decisions. This is a joint decision. So that's okay, because that's something that they value in their relationship. But our job is to make sure that this is also the real objection, and we're getting to the real objection if it isn't. So to find out that, a simple answer to that question is, if your spouse is a yes, would you be a yes? And would you get started right away? So again, this is a if. So that really nice little word if in front of a statement helps you kind of weed out if that's the real issue, the real problem at hand. So if the answer is yes, this may be the real objection. If the answer is no, you still then got to dig a little bit deeper and find out what the real reason is, and that's where the real challenge comes in closing. But when we ask these questions confidently, it's like we know what we're doing. We understand people. We understand, and when we're working with them, we're willing to work with them and understand them and find out to get to the level that they're at of understanding. So if they do say yes, then what do you think or let's see, I gotta go back to this. So if the answer is yes, it may be the real objection. If the answer is no, you still must continue getting to the real objection and helping your prospect make a really great decision. If they do say yes, ask, so what do you think your spouse will say? So if they say yes to the if your spouse is a yes, would you be a yes? And their answer is yes. As what do you think your spouse will say? So here's the time that you can see if they think, and they're making that buying decision together, what would they say? So if the answer to this is less than positive, then you need to ask the prospect and their spouse to come into a call with you together, because this is where the communications are really important, because it's so we don't get in the he said, we said. It's like, now I can help get both of them through the objection. So then there again, you're doing the same thing in that process. Now you're finding out what the partner's real objection is. It may be that they have some other concerns that we didn't know. So if you're talking to husband Al and his wife's name is Betty, and he says, no, there's no way Betty would go with this. So then it's like, okay, well, would it be possible to have Betty get on the call with us? Because I can see that you're kind of excited about this. You said this would be a yes. Let's talk to Betty together and see what her objections might be, so that, one, so that it doesn't put you in a bad place. And so I have a better understanding of where she is within regards to this business. And it just helps us get an understanding of the couple as they are. So now you get to the point where, okay, I'm kind of losing track here every once in a while. So that again, it's all about getting to know them, getting to know their reasons, and digging a little bit deeper, and being able to address those reasons and help them find the value in what we have to offer to them, so that it addresses the problems and the objections that they have, the real objections. So then there's the I have to think about it objection. This objection is typically either a stall technique, an auto response, just something that pops out of their head. It's just like they don't have to answer it, or you just haven't given them enough information and with enough certainty about the positive income of your product or your opportunity. So this one is a start with a pattern interrupt. If you didn't have to think about it, would you get started? Again, you're putting that little if you didn't have to think about it. So then you're going to dig into that a little bit. If you did, if they say yes, then it's like, okay, well, what is it that you have to think about? And you're going to go find the answers, So, well, I really don't know that much about the company. A really good technique for that is, okay, well, we all carry a little computer on our hands. Let's say, what questions do you have? Let's look it up. We can go into our business and say, here's the company information. Here's all the stuff. Here's what questions you have about the company. What questions you have about the product. We can do a little bit of the research and take that I have to think about it a little bit more and give them more information to allow them to make a decision. So if you knew absolutely for certain that USANA would allow you to do whatever it is you want to make, an extra $1,000 a month, would you get started? So, maybe they just don't have the reason why. They haven't understand what the reason is. So if you absolutely knew for certain that these products would really address the health concerns that you talked to me about, would you be willing to get started? So whether it's a product or opportunity, you are searching for how to help address those problems. And again, like we said earlier, the thing that we want to do is practice these questions so that we're ready for that objection. We're ready for I really have to think about it. Okay, well, if you didn't have to think about it, would you be really ready to get started? If this would help you with this condition, would you be ready to get started? So, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not a sniper with these questions yet. I'm still an amateur and a rookie. And until you have sponsored maybe 20 or 30 people, you will be always a beginner, and you're learning. You're always in this learning mode of learning how to do a little bit better. And, no matter how you do with prospect A, you move on to prospect B, you take a little bit away from it, you learn from what you did, and you move on to the next one. So, so when they finally say yes to that, or the money back guarantee or whatever the questions are, you can help them get started a little bit easier because you've gotten through those objections. One of the other big ones, the last one is, this is a pyramid scheme, the objection to the pyramid scheme. I'm sometimes tempted to tell somebody, yes, absolutely, it's a pyramid. But every business is foundation of a business. And the cool thing about this pyramid is everybody who starts gets to be at the top of their own. That's just my way. But I don't really, you don't want to say it is a pyramid scheme, because a scheme is really, it is not a scheme, because the scheme, and we'll go through that. So the objection is typically born from a lack of information. Your prospect has heard, or your prospect is looking for a way not to act, and hear it a lot. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. You have to get past that, and you have to be confident in that. So the absolute way to deal with this is just to be confident and just say, no, this is not a pyramid scheme. We have great products that move through the products. There's no money that changes hand unless a product moves through the organization. The really cool part about it is, if you look at it as a pyramidal or a structure of a pyramid, you're at the top of yours, and you can build as big of an organization as you like, and I can build as big of an organization as I like. And the cool thing about it is, just because I'm up here, my goal is to help you down here and I want you to build the biggest pyramid that you possibly can. Almost used a not so good word to describe that. But so I just really be confident in that. No, it's not a pyramid scheme. If you really understand business, you'll really understand the structure of a business is it's a strong foundation, and it's a product. It's a way of building business. But your best defense is a good offense. Be knowledgeable about the network marketing industry. It's currently a $178 billion industry worldwide. It's bigger than the NFL, the music industry, and the movie industry combined. It's bigger than all of those businesses combined. So it is not a pyramid scheme. And if by some chance you get pulled into one, run and go find a really good business, because there are some really great businesses out there. USANA is the cream of the crop. It's the best that there is. We've got 30-year history. We've got great products. We've got great leadership. We've got great mentorship. We've got great training. We've got, just fantastic ways to help people overcome anything that they may be struggling with in their lives. And again, we're all about health. We're all about lifestyle. We're all about helping create opportunities for people to grow physically healthy, financially, in whatever way they can. So it's really important in the closing is that you take control of the conversation. So I'm just going to kind of read through one script here. It's like, so Mila, you told me that you wanted to retire by the time you're 35. So I've answered every question that you've had, and I've showed you how other people have done the same thing that you wanted. How I've shown you how some people have retired and made USANA their lifestyle and their business and created income for over 15 years, starting at age 25, including myself. If this is true, you can only tell them things that are true. So, I know Jared Krebs. Jared's been, this has been his sole source of income since he was 25 years old. He's now 41, 42, something like that. So 15 years, he says it's his sole source of income. But honestly, I could answer all the questions. I could answer questions all day long, but it comes down to whether you want to retire early or are you happy and satisfied staying the course that you're at. But if you do want to retire much earlier than planned, let's get you some product to get you started, get you enrolled. And if you don't want what you described to me at the very beginning of our conversation, then I, of course, can't help you. But if you're really serious about it, let's get started. So it's really kind of a close. We just want to go into this with a lot more faith and confidence, faith in us, faith in yourself. It starts there. It starts with what's in your heart, what's in your mind, what's in your intentions with these people. If you're really truly out there just to sell them a product and move on to the next person, maybe we should change your, and I don't think anybody wants to be doing that, because every time you sell a product and you found a customer, sold them one product and you moved on, you have to go find another one. So our goal is to get people in here, help them find the real benefit, the true benefit for the long term for them, and get them, started on their health journey, still started on their wealth journey, started on their lifestyle journey. So here are some of the top reasons why people say no. So when you understand all of these, you'll be able to move on to your next prospect a little more easily. So when someone does say no, it's okay. It's just okay. You just say, okay, this wasn't the right time for that prospect. It's just time to move on to the next one. But it's really important to sit down and evaluate what went wrong or what can I do different with the next one. So when you understand these, you'll be able to move on to your next prospect a little more easily. So these are some of the reasons. One, they're not as committed to the change that they originally said that they wanted. So somebody said, yeah, I want to retire by the time I'm 35. You know what? They probably weren't as committed. They really only know what they've always known, and they only know what, the life I've always known is just working for somebody else to get a regular paycheck because it gives me that safe feeling. Another one is you just haven't built enough know, like, or trust with them. So it's like, yeah, I like what I saw, but Dave, you just seem a little sketchy. I just don't know you that well, or whatever it is. I haven't seen you be really successful, or whatever it is. Maybe we haven't put the value in front of them that shows that they can really know, that they really know me, they really trust me, or they really like me. So if those are the cases, and these again are places for self-evaluation, it's not a place to beat yourself up. It's just like, okay, what can I do a little bit better next time with the next prospect? So they just don't believe you. They might not believe what you have presented, and they don't believe that it will work for them. And then lastly, no is just an auto response. And I think we talked about the no as an auto response. It's really about talking to them, get to know a little bit more about them, understand them, and find out if no is actually no, or no, just maybe it's just no is not now. And that's why we move them on to our follow-up list, and we come back to them in 2 months or 3 months or 6 weeks or whatever the time frame is. And whatever reason, you can always have a reason to get back to people. So when it comes right down to it, you must believe in yourself, have confidence. Remember that objections that they give you is just a method of putting off a decision. It's a method of procrastination. Trust yourself that you know you will be able to close the people who are closable, and going through this process and getting rejections helps you get stronger and helps you to be much more successful. Have fun. The other part of it is, let's just go out there, enjoy the time that we're spending with our prospects, whether they buy or not, whether they choose to or buy, whether they they move on their merry way and continue life down the path that they're currently on. And that's okay. They're still my friend. They're still somebody, that I know, or maybe they're not. Maybe if you really want to move on from people, start with your enemies and let them all say no first, and you'll be really good for all of your friends. Remember, okay, so here's just a really cool fact. Remember that the best in the world closes 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3. So that's, I think I liked listening to Jim Rohn when he talks about the baseball player. The baseball player who hits 3 out of 10, three hits, bat 300. They pay him, and in the one, now this is a really dated audio cassette or an audio, but baseball player out 7 out of 10 times, they pay him $4 million a year, is what Jim Rohn said. Now these baseball players are up to the tens of $1 million a year for that same kind of output and stuff. But so you don't have to get them all. We don't have to get them all. We just have to get 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4. Or, we're getting started and we're not that good. 1 out of 10 is good. 2 out of 10 is good. 3 out of 10, $4 million a year if you're a baseball player. So just be a baseball player. That's closing. Hopefully you got something out of this. I know I did. I learned a lot just going through it and reading through it and sharing it with you online. So have any questions, please reach out and let me know how we can help you out. All of this material comes from the Inner Circle training that was presented by Jared Krebs to me and to many other people. And that is a course that he took from Matt Morris. You can find Matt Morris on Facebook. You can find Matt Morris on, I think you can just Google it, Google Inner Circle coaching and training. Some really super information out there on that. So Mila, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Wow, that's amazing. So we learn how to close and how to handle objection. So the assignments, you go out there and then